Hey, welcome, Charles, and everyone who's listening. I want to introduce my friend Charles Hooper Jr. I always see the junior by your name, and
Yes.
Charles, you have big news in the last week or two. You have received your ICF Master Certified
Yes.
Coach. Congratulations!
Yes. Thank you so much. Got
Yeah.
the
Oh,
certificate in the mail.
I love it. You got the evidence right there for us. That's
That's
fantastic.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on today. Hey, what we want to talk about is it's questions. I'm sure you get them too, but I get them all the time about why ICF and what is the ICF and what's a credential and what if I'm not doing a coaching business? What's the point of having a credential or even doing anything with the ICF? And
Yeah.
so that's what we want to take a look at today, if that's good. So, Charles, just let me ask you,
Sure.
why get an ICF credential or be involved in the ICF at all?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really wrestled over that. At first, I thought, why do I need this? I'm working with pastors around the country and the world, and I can read a couple of books and take all my lessons from the School of Hard Knocks and surely coach these pastors well. And thankfully, the church that I was a part of at that time really had a standard for professionalism. And they said, Charles, whatever training you need that will help you help these pastors, get it.
Hmm.
So when I found out about the ICF, I thought I do want to be at a professional standard. And I really wanted not to just be a Johnny come lately guy, but I wanted to be associated with a group that had a clear and written standard for
Yeah.
coaching. So that's kind of what initially got me thinking about it.
And so when you talk about this standard, talk about what it's like out there. Everybody uses the word coach, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
very few, as you and I both know, few mean the same thing by it, right? What's the kind of stuff that you see out there that's under the name of coaching?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people realize that kind of coaching is the cool thing right now, and maybe consulting used to be the old name for it, and coaching is the new name, but it's still basically telling. It's very directive. It's just got a new name. And there really is a big difference between the telling approach and more of a discovery asking approach. And so I think the ICF allows us to have similar language so that we know what we're talking about.
Hmm.
And more companies, and I believe even ministries and nonprofits, are looking for coaching, and they're very specific with what that means. And so when I say I'm aligned with ICF, they're like, okay, good, now we can talk.
And so, what's that distinctive then? So, align with ICF. So, it's not just joining an association. That's not really the point. I know. So,
Yeah.
talk about the core competencies a little bit, and Why does the ICF core competencies, if we coach using those competencies, why does that serve our clients or the people we're coaching? Why does it serve them better?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's helpful to have a clear standard in the practice of coaching. And so there's the 11 core competencies that guide us through how to have a very intentional conversation. The code of ethics keeps us above board. And it's just a universal standard that helps create a product that's similar around the world. And, I did a thorough biblical study on each of the competencies and their subpoints, and my conviction on how important each of those are went up.
Oh,
I was
wow.
ready to just prove it wrong, but I just saw, wow, these are excellent truths that really can help people.
So it's not just a matter of, hey, you've got your way, I've got my way. There's it, but actually personality and, for example, I know, Charles, because you and I train together, you coach differently than I do because your
Yeah,
personality is different. However,
Yeah.
it's that foundational, it's the core competencies of you can see, oh, Keith asked like this, Charles asks like that, but you can see that we're both using the same competencies, even though our personalities are coming out differently.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's almost like the chassis of a car. Every car has to have a chassis in order to operate, but then the color of the car, the style of the car is different. So I think it allows all the coaches to have a similar chassis
Mm.
and yet express that through their unique personality.
Yeah, interesting. Well, the ICF has several levels of credentialing. In other words, they have standards of and actually take a look at coaches to see, do these people actually coach at a competent level or not? And then there's actually 3 levels of this, and you just hit the top level. Congratulations. Again, that's master
Yeah,
certified coach. So I'm down at
thanks.
professional certified coach. And then there's one more below me, which is associate certified coach. And then down below that is the Wild West, right? Anything
Yeah,
goes under the name
yeah,
of coaching. But
that's right.
when we see these different when we see these different levels, I know you do a lot of mentor coaching, which is helping people to improve in their coaching. I don't know if you're able to do it, Charles, but what's the what's the quality difference or the difference in the results, or
Yeah.
how does it look different between the ACC first level, PCC second level, MCC third level?
Yeah, that's a good question. And of course, I know you've got an excellent article on your website that shows that, and the Coach Federation .org website or .com has a chart. But basically, I think ACC level coaching is kind of like high school football as we think
Hmm.
about American football. You're learning the fundamentals, but there's still a lot of fumbles and a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
Just trying to get the basic skills, whereas PCC might be college level football. You're really focusing on position strengthening those competencies so that you're consistently providing good results. And I don't know, maybe MCC is the NFL. There's certain nuances, and
Yeah.
you're able to go deeper and get bigger results faster. It's more bold, it's more focused. So all built on the same chassis, but just expanding in effectiveness and maybe expanding in the depth that the client's able to go.
So someone without any coaching training, for example, and then someone who's at a ACC or a PCC level, how would you say it'll be different in the both the
Yeah.
process and the quality that they get with their people they're coaching?
Yeah, I think a big difference between someone who kind of says they're coaching a friend or a coworker with no training and someone who has some basic training is the person that has no training. It's a two-way conversation. They share their story. I share my story. I give them advice. I tell them what I think. It's more like a kind of a ping pong conversation. Whereas I think with training, the coach is able to focus completely on that person
Mm.
and use some of the key skills of powerful and open-ended questions, active and reflective listening, and then value add statements, direct communication. So it's actually a different kind of conversation, a more intentional kind of conversation that actually gets better results than the traditional kind of friend helping a friend type conversation at Starbucks.
Yeah, and this is sometimes hard to communicate, because a lot of the people who are interested in our training, for example, they're already good communicators,
Yeah,
and they're looking at it and they go, "Wow, why would I spend all that money and all that time to improve my conversations, which I already think are pretty good?" But yet, there really is a massive quality difference in your ability to help at these different levels. and I know you and I see it all the time because we're training people, and we can.
Yeah,
I mean, tell me if this isn't true. We can listen to someone coach, and we can tell immediately whether they've had any training, and then we
absolutely.
can also tell what level of coaching they're at just by
Yeah,
hearing the quality. And when we say quality of it, it's not just that they use certain techniques and so therefore they're fitting the coach mold. It's not that. It's the ability for them to get the client to reflect and to be thinking and to go much deeper and further than the client was able to do on their own.
exactly. There is a level of professionalism that comes into this, and it seems like, whenever as adults we're learning a new skill, we have to go through that process of being unconsciously incompetent,
Mm-hmm.
consciously incompetent, consciously competent, and then unconsciously competent. So we're learning a new way of communicating that
Yeah.
is the best for that person. So yeah,
Yeah.
really
Well,
can't see the difference.
yeah. So Charles, talk to us about your journey. You've been you took coach training quite a while ago, and you've done several different things along the way. What are some of the milestones or like places where you got to in your coaching where you like almost like decision points or where you got a big breakthrough or something like that.
Yeah,
I know, and I'm thinking about this. I got a couple, but let me hear yours.
yeah,
What are some of yours? So start from the
yeah,
beginning, the earlier ones, and then
yeah,
some of the as you go.
yeah. I think there's a couple that stand out. One is when I was in college, I was a psychology major. I
Okay.
wanted to help people. And I realized that I didn't necessarily want to look backwards at pain and dysfunction. I wanted to look future, possibilities, hope, dreams, strategy. And so in my mind, I was thinking, I want coaching. But at that time, I wasn't aware of that. And perhaps the field was not yet fully developed.
Hmm.
Um, I think another turning point was when I was given an opportunity to coach pastors around the nation. And I thought, well, how hard is this? They're a pastor, I'm a
Right.
pastor. I'm at a big mega church. I'll just tell them what to do, and surely their church will be great, just like ours is. And after after trying that a little while, I was not getting the results I wanted. And I went to my boss and said, I don't think I'm able to help these people. And he's like, well, that's what we're paying for. You better figure it out. And so that's when I started pursuing professional training and stopped trying to, use my School of Hard Knocks education for coaching. So that was big.
And that
I think
seemed to
another
that seemed to I bet that took a little bit of humility, because
it
here you
did.
are, you're at the big church, you're at the church that's like giving all the stuff to the other ones, and you're the guy in
Yeah,
charge, and to realize, wow, what I've got's not working. We have good material we're trying to get out to these people, but it's just not getting out and getting in. So to for you to go and at that point in your career to re-educate yourself, that's a big deal, Charles.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was humility or desperation that
Maybe those
motivated
go
me.
hand in hand.
Yeah, yeah. But I definitely wanted to help other people. And I would learn something about coaching on Monday. I would apply it on Tuesday. And I just saw remarkable
Okay.
and different results from a coaching approach. And, I think one big thing, Keith, is when I decided I'm going to stop trying to mix, mentoring and consulting and discipling and advice giving and listening and it's just like, no, I'm going to try just a coach approach and see what happens.
Mm,
And you know what? They weren't asking for my advice. They weren't asking for my stories, for my ideas. They wanted to be in a place where that was pulled out of them and what the Holy Spirit had put in. And they know the context better than I ever would.
mm.
So I actually saw that kind of a pure coach approach was getting better results than if I was trying to use all this Jedi magic to try to help them.
That's interesting because that's definitely a milestone in my journey too, Charles. Is when I decided uh, I'm a decent teacher. I like doing that kind of thing, and so, but it wasn't working when I was going one on one. Meaning
Yeah.
they were liking it just fine, but it wasn't achieving the results. They weren't changing, and they were too dependent on me to give them the next bit of advice and so on. And so, but I decided as well that I didn't like coaching. I don't know. Maybe it's my personality, but I don't like asking questions and listening. I got too many great things to say. So,
Right.
but I shut up and started doing it. And as you shared, Charles, I started seeing better results than what I was getting before, and that is what pushed me in to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Another milestone, Keith, is when I realized my approach was not effective. I needed to take the information that I was learning about coaching and basically imitate,
Hmm.
and then I could innovate. And I think what a lot
Yeah.
of people try to do is they get new information and then they try prematurely to innovate so it
Hmm.
fits their style and it's not wooden or fake. And I think the skill development cycle of taking information, simply imitating it, and then innovating is something that helped me really get the fundamentals early so that there was a strong foundation.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. We definitely see it when
Yeah,
we're training people who are as you said, prematurely innovating. It's like, yeah, let's get it in deep enough so that they can do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Matter of fact, a lot of my early coach training was kind of theoretical, historical, learn all these different diagrams and models, and it was somewhat confusing. It's like, I just need something simple and practical to get me started. And so, when I first read, the coach model, and I've got, the most recent book here that I love, the updates, matter of fact, I just thought, okay, just stick with the model, learn it, imitate it, and then over time I can innovate. But that book for me kind of crystallized a good plan to move forward that I can then build other
Mm.
skills on. But it was that solid chassis that's aligned with the ICF. And Keith, I mean, I was getting amazing results from people. And so it's been an incredible resource. I've probably given hundreds of those books away.
Well, thank you. It's good to hear that. And
Yeah,
it's also cool because I know when you got in touch with the book and then you and I connected, you were already quite a good coach. I think you were already at that middle PCC level, and that's when
yeah.
you were adopting the coach model. So it wasn't like it was like your first exposure to coaching.
Yeah. Well, my challenge was I was responsible for training other people with coaching skills to do that through what we were doing at the church. And that's what I didn't feel equipped to do.
Mm.
And so to be able to use a resource like the coach model helped me articulate something that really a high school student can understand. And I remember you telling me the story of your son Benjamin when he was able to coach, as a teenager. So it's so simple and yet it's not simplistic, but it's just so powerful. So that's been a great tool as I've sought to train others.
Yeah. Well, that's great, Charles. Glad to hear it. And I like, like, of course I like what you're saying here because it's about the coach model, and I also found it to be helpful. But I like the idea that it's simple but not simplistic, because actually
Yeah,
we do advanced trainings, and you've been a part of that and helping to lead that too. We do advanced trainings, and we still go back to the coach model, but we're taking it
yes,
so much deeper than the
yes,
way we would present it in a 3-day workshop, for example, to people who are new
yeah,
to it.
yeah, exactly. And I know one of the trainings that just came on is the coaching the whole person. And so, built on that chassis of the coach model, it's been so interesting to kind of add how do we coach not only the external self, which is usually the issue or the challenge or the problem that the client brings, but to really go into the processing self. What are their their thoughts, their rational, and their emotions, but then even to go down into the internal self. And I've seen a marked difference, which I think kind of took me from a PCC level to an MCC level when I was implementing a lot of what you and I learned together and talked about in the whole coaching, the whole person. So it just took coaching so much deeper, more powerful. Change lasts. So that's been really helpful.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I don't know about you, but I get very few people who actually come to me and say, I really need my character developed. In fact, I need to have massive inner shifts inside me. No, they all come with a problem or goal that's out there that they can't achieve, and that's what they're trying to solve. But where the real leverage is often inside of them. And their biggest takeaway, we help them solve that external problem or goal, reach that goal. But their biggest takeaway is often what happens in them. But when we coach it, and this is where those levels of coaching come in, right? Because we're talking about developing the person through their situation. That's this upper level. But the people who are untrained or just at the foundational level, they're very focused on the problem or the goal, and they don't know how to get into the interior of the leader. And so that's where the big difference becomes, I think. And I think that's the difference between problem-solving coaching and transformational coaching.
So true. Like mostly I'm coaching CEOs and business owners and executives, and they always come with the business topic. And I'm not a business coach. I'm primarily focused on the executive, but it's not very long before the trust and the intimacy is built and strong coaching presence, and they're beginning to open up more aspects of their life so that we're not just taking care of mergers and acquisitions or team communication or whatever, but we're getting down to real deep things like purpose and calling and what is their fundamental values about leadership and life. And it's just so nice to go below the surface, to really coach the whole heart and not just the kind of the presenting issue that they bring up.
Yeah, it's amazing. People are longing for it, but they rarely come and request it of you. It's just too personal, and they don't know what you're going to do. And so once we get that good coaching relationship going, that, just as you described, it can roll right out and come out.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it really can.
Yeah. Well, Charles, there's a lot of people watching this who are at different levels in their their development as a coach. Give us a couple of tips. You do a lot of mentor coaching with new coaches. Give us a couple of tips that would really help people to move forward in being more effective in their coaching.
Yeah, I think apart from a lot of practice, really trying to get the right kind of practice is helpful. And probably one of the best ways to get right practice is through mentor coaching. And so when I coach someone and then someone who's further along than me can give me feedback, and I can receive that and then stretch and grow. It's much like just working out. I'm sore. It kind of hurts, but I grow. And so I've hired, 5 or 6 coaches throughout my time. And even group coaching for mentor coaching is very effective. Yeah. So I think that's probably been the biggest thing, apart from just excellent professional level training. But mentor coaching has caused, I learned something one day, my mentor coach helps, and then I go and apply it. And I just feel my coaching going up so much higher. So, some of the courses that we offer can really help there.
Yeah. And Charles, I know you teach a course with us called Coaching Excellence, Mentor Coaching. for ACC, and that's for people who are going for that first level, or they don't have to be going for an ICF credential, but they're coaching along at that level or just past that level, usually somewhere between 50 client hours and 200 client hours, something like that. And I know you teach that regularly, and it fills up. The one you're starting soon's already been full for more than a month. We got another one coming up, but there'll be more after that. So that's great. And then you and I, let's just mention a couple of things. You want to mention Coaching Mastery in Atlanta?
Yeah, Coaching Mastery is a week-long training that's very fun, interactive, informative. It uses a lot of adult learning techniques. And basically, you need to get 60 hours of training, but you end up walking away with 73 hours of training. And then we follow it up with 5 teleclasses. So we kind of keep the family reunion type feel of the group together. And then each participant has 2 mentor coaching sessions where we listen to a recording, we give feedback, and it's a remarkable process to get exactly what you need to get started with coaching or to continue in your skill development. And it's just super practical, super professional, and super fun.
Yeah, that's great. We'll do that twice. So if you want to be with Charles and I and next year, we'll do that twice in Atlanta in January, first week of January, and then July or June or July. We'll do it again. And then we have other coaching masteries around, but Charles will be leading the teleclasses and the mentor coaching off of the Atlanta ones. And then Charles's standalone mentor coaching, which is called Coaching Excellence. And you can see all of this at our website, creativeresultsmanagement.com. Charles, thank you very much for coming on today, and congratulations again on getting your MCC. And I just really appreciate you and value you as a friend as well.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. It sure is fun to help people help others.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Charles. Well, thank you, and everybody, thank you for joining us today. If we can do anything for you, feel free to write at help@crmcoaches.com or go to creativeresultsmanagement.com. Thanks a lot, and take care.